Welcome, everybody, to Travel Your Heart, a podcast where two gay grandpas explore life's travels together. Hi, everybody. It's Grandpa Bobby.
Grandpa Scott.
And welcome to another episode of Travel Your Heart, brought to you by two gay grandpas.
That would be us.
So, Grandpa, what are we doing today?
Well, today we are returning to the questions that folks who are subscribers and followers submitted to us.
Oh, that should be fun. We got a ton of questions, so much so that we couldn't fit them all into one episode. So we're doing another episode. And to remind you, we just gathered all these questions. We written them down, but we haven't conversed with each other about them, haven't really studied them. So everything you see is going to be spontaneous and should be some interesting things to learn.
And it's scary.
Well,
Because I'm scared.
well, okay, why don't you go first?
Oh, I get to go first this time?
You get to go first this time.
Okay. Oh, this is a two-part question.
Oh, boy, start up tough.
I know, a part for you and a part for moi.
Okay.
I'm learning French. Moi. That's me in French. Okay, Grandma Bobby, which place was your least favorite to visit?
Oh,
Least?
I have to say, and this will make me sound like an old fuddy-duddy, but I have to say Munich wasn't my favorite city to visit. It was beautiful, but we definitely we wanted to be hip and cool. So we stayed in the East End in a converted...
No, Grandpa, that's not Munich.
Oh, I'm sorry. Apologies to Munich.
Senior moment here.
I meant to say Berlin.
Yes, you did.
Apologies to Munich. Berlin, East Berlin. If you're into graffiti, boy, that's the place to go. But I don't really consider graffiti a great art form, and it's everywhere in East Berlin. So it was a little bit of a hard edge. Now, I'd go again, and maybe this time I'd stay in the west part of Berlin, and I might like it more. But yeah, I think I might say East Berlin, not Munich. Munich is good. Love Munich.
You know, you just lost everybody in Germany right now. Please still turn in for Grandpa Scott, okay?
Okay, now what about you? Who are you going to insult?
You. Which places would you recommend to avoid tourist traps? Anything with the word Disney. But I'm assuming they mean country or nation
or
place?
things that may be very, very popular or overdone.
Yeah.
What do you think?
You know, golly gosh, let me think. This. See, as you can tell, we haven't had time to really think about this. Boy, Bobby, I'm having trouble thinking of one that...
It's a tourist trap. I mean, I'm running through the major...
Every place you visit, like I loved Greece.
Yeah.
But when you go to the archaeological places, you know, they're going to be packed.
Yeah, the Acropolis is going to be crowded.
But you have to deal with that.
Yeah, so you're going to stand in line at the Eiffel Tower or the Louvre.
Yeah.
But gosh, those aren't traps. I mean, to me, a trap would be something that is overrated and costly and not worth the visit to it.
Oh, then I stand with my first
Yeah,
choice.
well, not fair. We've done Disney a number of times. When you have grandkids that live in Southern California, you do Disney. So, yeah, I think I might avoid Disney for a while.
Yeah, I think I will too.
Okay, my turn for...
Am I going to get lectured after
you'll
this
get
by you,
postcards. Okay, whoa, this was a wordy one. What is your advice to people traveling in the USA and internationally with their partners who are nervous about homophobia? Do you have any locations or websites you would suggest as destinations for LGBTQ plus people?
Well, you know, let's just get real. Homophobia, transphobia, all of it's out there.
Yeah.
And it's raised its ugly heads even stronger now in our nation.
Yeah, especially in certain areas.
Oh, yeah. So avail yourself of the information that's available to you nationally. There's really great resources on YouTube. You know, many times you have to take YouTube and balance it out, you know, one person's opinion. But there's all kinds of articles that are put out by reputable news agencies that point to where would you be welcome or where you wouldn't be. So you need to really do your research. You know, and also one of the things, just look at the laws that are being passed.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a really good sign. If you get states and localities passing very homophobic, very hateful, despicable laws against the queer community, one, don't go, and two, don't give them your money.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't support them.
Use your economic power, because that's really going to speak a lot.
And also, you know, really research the places you're going. I mean, you know, we're not visiting Uganda anytime soon. So we really think about the country's laws, as Scott was mentioning, and what you read in the news, but also when you are in a place, and this relates to any place, use common sense. Be aware of your surroundings, especially after dark. Research where you're going to go. If you feel a little uncomfortable, maybe don't hold hands in an area that doesn't feel safe to you. Just be aware all the time of where you're at.
Yeah, your gut will tell you a lot. Now, internationally, the United States government does put out travel advisories, and we do avail ourselves of those. Because there were countries that we were not going to. Poland was one because of their kind of repressive government. That has changed now.
Yep.
And with that change, we would love to go see and tour Poland. Hungary as a country, as much as I would love to see Budapest, it has not been very kind to their LGBT community.
Same thing with Istanbul. I would love to go to Istanbul. Just a little leery at this time. But you know what? Let us know your comments if you have more experience with any of those countries and what your experiences have been. We love to learn from everyone.
Yeah, but in Turkey, they have had a change in their government with their last election. So, see, those are the things we like to follow and keep up on, so that we have an idea of where we'll be safe. Now, do we lock lips in any place? No, we really don't. We don't do a lot of the kind of the PDA
we're not
stuff.
into big PDA.
We save the romance for home.
Well, it makes me uncomfortable when I see cisgender people in public. I just think, you know, maybe we're a little old-fashioned.
Yeah, quite honestly, when I'm slurping down a plate of spaghetti, the last thing I want to see is the couple on the other side slurping down their tongues.
Let's go on to the next question.
I
think so.
Yeah, sorry. Okay.
Go on.
You too.
Your turn. No, I just read the last one.
Oh, me? I think the whole last question kind of got me. How do you navigate safely as two out gay people while traveling?
Well, that's hand in hand with the last one. As you know, we said it's just been our nature. We're not excessively PDA in public, so we would advise a little bit of restraint in that regard. Now, the one thing about being gay is it's an invisible minority. That is, until we open our mouths. So we have the advantage that people don't necessarily know we're gay upon first sight. So that's a very fortunate advantage that a lot of minorities don't have. But when you do go out, you know, you're free to dress however you want. However, if you don't want to draw negative attention to yourself, think about what you're wearing. Think about how you're acting, thinking about how you're interacting with your partner. Just be a little aware. Use common sense.
Yeah. We're not encouraging you to hide who you are.
No.
Definitely not that.
We never do.
Because there are places that you can be. Amsterdam, hold hands. It's wonderful. But you have to learn those places that you can. We never ran into a problem touching each other in Paris. We're not in Germany.
Well, and you'd be surprised, especially in Latin countries, the men, even the cisgender men, have more relaxed attitudes about touching one another.
They will hold on to each other.
Yeah, hold hands, put their arms around it. So, you know, just look around, see what's going on. Now, Grandpa Scott and I have to say, we've been traveling now for many years. We have never once encountered any negativity. If there is, they keep it to themselves. But we never hide who we are. For some reason, everybody thinks we're brothers anyway. Don't know why, but we're never anything but a married couple when we're out, and we've just been very fortunate. I think that we've never had an issue.
Yeah, when we book a room, it's the matrimonial if they have them. So yeah, just make yourself aware, do your research, and you will know. Your gut will tell you. Your gut will tell you. Use it.
Okay, my question. Any tips or tricks, physical, practical, or mental, for traveling at your age? At my age. Okay, how come it is
Did one of our kids write this question?
So. You get to a certain point in your life, and everything is for your age.
Your
like,
age.
you look good for your age. You're traveling well for your age. Okay, but honestly, sincerely, we're a little older.
I prefer seasoned.
A little more seasoned, like an old steak. But there are certain things we look for, like when you go to stay in a place somewhere like Amsterdam, that has very steep stairs. You might think about, if you're renting, say, an Airbnb, not staying on the 5th floor, because remember, they don't count the first floor as the 5th floor. The first floor is the ground floor, and you don't want to be climbing 5 flights of stairs. So when we're especially going for a higher elevation, we try to look for a place with an elevator.
Yes,
it always helps. But other than that, we take our time a little more. When we first went out traveling, we would be out all day. I mean, I'm literally all day, from like 8 in the morning till 6 in the evening. Nowadays, we do it in spurts. We might do a section of a day, come back and rest for a while, and then do another section of the day. We may not see everything, but we enjoy it just as much, and take a break.
Oh yeah, take a break. The fact is that when you grow older, there's changes to your body. It's just nature. It's just, it just happens. And so my energy level now at almost 35 is not even near what it was at 35 or even 50. So you take that into mind, and you, like you said, when we book rooms, we go for a place that has an elevator. And because schlepping like
5 flights of stairs.
Even a backpack up a very narrow staircase in Amsterdam for 5 floors.
Oh gosh, one of our last trips, we were in Siena, and we wanted to stay in this place that had its own terrace, and it had amazing view looking over the piazza. And unfortunately, I forgot to note that it didn't have an elevator.
You sure
Somehow
did.
we forgot. It was over 100 stairs. And I think Grandpa Scott cursed me every time we went up and down. So we bear that in mind now. And the other thing, too, about pacing yourself, we don't deny ourselves from doing anything. Yeah. In fact, on our Virgin Voyages cruise, if you tuned into those episodes on our YouTube channel, we went out dancing, and we were out at midnight. Now, we didn't stay out till 2 a.m., but we did do it.
Yes, we did. And had one hell of a time.
And slept in the next morning.
Yeah, a wee bit.
Your turn.
Have you traveled before with friends or a group? Oh, I'm going to take this.
I have a part to add, so you
okay.
Okay.
We did this once with dear friends from San Francisco. They were more than friends. They were our little brothers. They were like little brothers' best friends. So we planned for your birthday.
That's right.
To Lake Tahoe. We went to Lake Tahoe.
I remember this well.
Yep. We got connecting rooms, right? And we had a fun time that first night.
Yeah, we went out to dinner and a good time.
Everything was fine. And then the next day, the two of them came over, and things did not look well. And they informed us after years that they had broken up.
Yay! On my birthday.
On your birthday. And the remainder of that trip was really uncomfortable.
A little tense.
The car ride home.
Very quiet.
Very quiet, very uncomfortable. And in my mind, I'm going, why the heck did they wait and do this on Bobby's birthday. So
Happy birthday to me.
I was a little ticked off.
Yeah, yes, you were.
Yes, I was.
Yeah, I don't think we have traveled with friends since, but we have met up with friends about traveling. And one of my most favorite memories, you know what I'm talking about.
Ahead.
We were in London, and two of our friends were also in London at the same time. So we said, hey, let's get together for dinner. And we were staying in this wonderful garret flat up in the Mayfair district, and it had a little tiny elevator. So they came by, they buzzed from downstairs. Scott said, "Oh, I'll run downstairs and let them in." So he ran downstairs.
No, I used the elevator.
Oh, you did. Well, you went downstairs gracefully. So he went downstairs to let them in, and time went by, and I was, anxious. I'm going to meet them, fixing up the apartment, and they didn't come up.
Yeah.
And they didn't come up. I went, wow, where are they? So I went downstairs, and there they are in the elevator, 2 feet above the floor, stuck.
Between floors, stuck.
In an elevator. And if you have encountered many of these elevators in European buildings, they're the size of an upright coffin. They're not very big. And they were stuck there. Of course, it was a Friday night, and all of the people that you call from the management were all gone, couldn't do anything. So in the end, we had to call the fire department, which, by the way, something to know is they're quite experienced with this in London. They have no problem coming out because they encounter this a lot. So for an hour, you were stuck in the elevator with our friends. It's a great story. You remember it. We never forgot that time.
Oh my God. And all three of us, our bladders were full. And we're just like two-stepping around that little elevator. Thank gosh we had we took up did we take up the luggage? Oh, no, they didn't have the luggage at that time. I'm sorry. Yeah. But, I remember that.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, it was
it was
miserable.
It was a great story to tell afterward.
Okay.
Oh, this is cute. Did you have a honeymoon, and where did you go? Well, you're talking a honeymoon after. Well, you see, we met and we were together. We were engaged for 29 years before we were married. So we did, when we were first together, we went out on a honeymoon trip to Hawaii. Remember that? And that was fun. And then years later, when we got married, well, we weren't anticipating ever being able to get married. Yeah. So, and, we were older, so it wasn't like we were waiting for our parents to pay for the wedding. So we put all our money into paying for our wedding, which was wonderful.
Yes.
Our wedding theme was Under the Tuscan Sun, and it was a beautiful day of celebrating with all of our family and friends. Yeah. But what we did is we saved up our money, and the next year we went on a honeymoon. Where did we go that year after?
We went to Italy.
We went back to, that's right, we did go back to Italy.
We went to Italy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, we did have a honeymoon, although like a lot of people, we delayed it until we could afford it.
We had more cash.
Yeah.
This is an interesting question also. Do you like to meet people while traveling? And when you do you stay in contact with them?
Well, yeah, we meet people all the time. We run into some marvelous characters. Now, staying in touch with them is also challenging. We have in the past. Remember that wonderful family we met in when we were camping at Jenny Lake in my mind just went blank. In Jackson.
Grand Teton National Park. They were from Bozeman.
Yes, I remember that. And they were a very sweet family.
We did stay in touch.
We stayed in touch with them for several years, Christmas cards and such. But people move on in their lives and they change and you kind of lose touch. So we don't stay in regular contact, but, we after a trip, we will stay in contact with people, email, send Christmas cards and the like.
We do stay in contact with some people we met on the Virgin Voyages.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's true.
Several of them were adopted grandkids.
That's right, yeah.
And so we do, but sometimes, people pass.
Life changes.
Yeah.
Your turn.
Okay. Is there anything about growing older regarding your body
Okay.
you'd like younger people to know?
don't.
No, that's
Do you
not
have
true.
is there anything about my body? Where do I start? All I would advise is take good care of yourself. You're probably going to be here a lot longer than you think. You're going to need those feet. You're going to need that back.
Your teeth.
Yeah, the teeth. To just take care of yourself. It can be a long journey, and when you travel, it can be very physical, especially if you want to go for a lot of walking or hiking. Stay active in your youth, and you can grow older a little more gracefully.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to be a gym bunny.
Yeah.
Is that a term from the 80s?
I think we dated ourselves.
A gym fanatic. But, it's like do a few laps in the pool if you're lucky to have one, or the one nearby.
Just walk.
Or just walk, we do a lot of that. Travel involves a lot of walking and all that, so take care of your feet. A lot of people ignore their feet. Mm-hmm. And
it's aimed a lot at women and those high heel shoes.
Oh my gosh, I don't know how they do it.
Yeah?
Yeah. But dude, take care of your feet. Just take care of everything you can, and just realize that your youth is not always going to stay with you.
No.
And that when you do reach our age, you want to be as prepared as you can, so plan for it.
Yeah. Maybe eventually you're going to need trifocals, but you know what? Yeah. You just buck up and you deal with it, because, as we like to say, what's the option?
Yeah. As they say, any day above ground is
That's right.
better
We're
than
here,
below.
and we're still moving.
And that also, I guess, goes to not just your body, but it's like your body. It's your mental attitude. Mm-hmm. Do not fear growing old.
Yeah.
You do not need to fear growing old. Life doesn't end at 21. It doesn't end at 35.
It doesn't end at 40.
Yeah. No.
Just because you grow old, you don't have to grow up. Sometimes we like to joke. We look in the mirror and go, who is that person? Who is that old man?
So we don't look at it in the mirror a lot.
We only have very few.
Yeah, keep a healthy child inside.
Yeah.
It'll help you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. What do you recommend for people who don't enjoy traveling that much? It can be scary, especially if you're a solo traveler. So I think what I would advise is take baby steps. Maybe do a day trip somewhere, mm-hmm. and then maybe do an overnight. Mm-hmm. Perhaps you're concerned about flying. I mean, I know someone in my family who said they would never fly for longer than 5 hours.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of limit yourself when you say that. So maybe you try incrementally increasing your comfort level to the point where you feel okay taking a flight to Europe or to Asia or to South America.
Well, and start with a place that you feel comfortable going to.
That's a very good point.
If it's the city near yours, then go try that first. Build up your confidence, build up your excitement, build up your pleasure bank about it. And then as you become more comfortable with the concept of traveling, throw in something. Okay, I'm going to be traveling to Tucson, and I've never tried Mexican food before. And you try it, okay? And there you go. You've just tried something new, and you can pat yourself on the back. And maybe the next time that you try Mexican food, you're doing it in the Yucatan or Mexico mm-hmm. City. Mm-hmm. Make it comfortable that way, incrementally. And if you don't like to fly, and a lot of people don't, you do have some options. You may limit going to Europe or to Asia, except by
a Cunard line, which is not
ship.
The worst way to go.
Yeah, that's a way for you. So,
and speaking of that, you might even try something like cruising. We had not really been cruisers mm-hmm. until lately, and boy, we've really enjoyed it. And it's a good way to start traveling without having to put yourself out there too much, because once you get on a ship, you're there. Your clothes are all there. They literally take you to every port or city of interest. So you might look at opportunities like that, where you can increase your experience level, but not with too much effort or risk on your part.
Yeah, and you can start with a cruise of 3 to 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
And you might try that to just
See how you like it.
Yeah, see how comfortable you are. And then if hey, I can do this, maybe next time you do a 5-day.
Yeah, and particularly if you're a solo traveler, cruises have a lot of activities and gatherings for solo passengers. So it might allow you the opportunity to meet people, but give you the chance to still pull back if you want your own time. So that's a good point, Grandpa.
Yeah. And if money is an issue for you the first time, like on a cruise, they have the interior rooms that are always less money. And the only difference is you don't have a balcony, you don't have a window, but you have your bathroom. They're very nice. But if you think about it, on a 3 or 5 day cruise, your food is served in the restaurants. You're going to be going to port. You're going to be out of your room a lot, except maybe to clean up and sleep.
Yeah, it's a good budget idea.
Yeah.
Your turn.
Are there any destinations you would recommend or not recommend as a solo traveler?
Wow, these are kind of like, how'd these get tied in together?
Yeah.
Not recommend. Well, okay, I'll be corny. Save Paris for when you're in love. Paris is a romantic city, so I would save it for when you're in love. I wouldn't say don't go, but I would just hold off. It's a special place, and it's much more special when you're sharing it with someone.
And see, here's where Grandpa Bobby and I disagree.
Oh, you don't think Paris is romantic?
I think Paris is really romantic. But if you're a solo traveler, go to Paris and just fall in love with Paris. Fall in love with the food, you know? So we disagree a little bit on that.
Okay, but is there some place that I would recommend? Well, we just talked about, I would definitely recommend solo travelers take a look at cruising for the reasons we just gave. It allows you the opportunity to mix or be a part as you like. You don't have to put out as much effort to get from one place to another because you're on a ship. There are a lot of opportunities to meet or not meet people as you choose. So definitely I would do that. Now, is there any place that I really don't think a solo traveler would want to go?
Well, I don't think it's so much a place to go as if you are a solo traveler, and there are people who solo travel that have some wonderful YouTube channels, and so check those out because we don't do solo traveling. But in watching and kind of looking at their videos, you know, be aware of where you're going. Let people know where you're going. If you're going to go out on a hike, let someone know where you're going to go hiking and when you anticipate to come back, so that if something does,
especially
go wrong,
if you're overnight back, back country.
Well, usually they require permits in the national park, so that's good. And I believe they do in other parks.
And also, any solo traveling is the same thing we talked about, safety in any place you go, locally or abroad. Just be aware of your surroundings, especially after dark. And, make sure that you're not being fragrant with your possessions. I mean, don't have that expensive camera just swinging on your neck. Don't have your purse open,
or your wallet out.
Just be cautious and concerned.
Yeah, well, you do that any travel.
Yeah, any travel, but particularly for a solo traveler, you don't want to make yourself a mark.
Yeah, and also we mentioned earlier that the U.S. government has travel advisories, and they have travel advisories if you're traveling solo, as well. So. Forewarned is
forearmed.
Forearmed.
Yep, good point. Okay, next question. How did you both deal with a prejudiced society being an openly gay couple? You want to start with that one?
It was hard at first because, you may not believe this about Grandpa Scott, but I have a very short fuse.
Oh, really?
I don't suffer fools very well, okay? And I find that homophobia, transphobia, racial prejudice, I find all of that despicable, all right? we're one human race, and we have one planet to share, and we should be able to share it together. Yes, we'll have disagreements, but we resolve those disagreements as mature people, not as raving idiots. So earlier on, especially after I came out, I didn't abide the homophobes very well.
Okay, I have a story on that one. See if you even remember
Okay.
this. Picture it. San Francisco, 1980. We were at a club with our friends, and we came out of this club, and it was in an urban area, and there were
Haight.
some.
It was in the
You're
Haight.
right,
I
you
know
remember
exactly
it.
what you're going to say.
Do you remember the club?
It was the I-beam.
You got it. Oh, good memory, Grandpa. Anyway, we were coming out of this club, and there were these, not hood, they were younger men, and they were just starting to make some cutting remarks.
drunk.
Yeah, drunk, and they were making some remarks, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, I'm the type that, okay, just put your head down, just move along. They're drunk. Don't incite them. Oh, no, not Grandpa Scott. He's got to confront everybody. So Grandpa Scott confronted them. And one of the big guys, I mean, they're really tall, pushed Grandpa Scott. And unfortunately, Grandpa Scott was wearing his contacts at the time and went, oh my God, my contact slipped. Here he is trying to fumble around, trying to find his contact. And I'm left staring at this giant. So the only thing I could think of was I jumped up and I punched him in the chest. It was...
And his response was so, hey, you punched me. It's like,
And that ended it.
yeah, absolutely. Boy, I remember that night, and I was so ticked because my contact, I couldn't see any. I had bad vision. I couldn't see the street with my contacts out, and all I wanted to do was go for.
Yeah, I know, but we're not advocating violence in any
That-
shape or form.
That was the young Scott.
But honestly, we are very fortunate. Like we tend to say, we don't, when we go into a room, we don't ask permission. We don't ask for forgiveness about who we are. We just are. We just go in accepting that people will take us for what we are. We're confident in ourselves. We're confident in our relationship. And I think people get that vibe. And they don't give us a hard time. We've never, since that night, maybe they hurt our reputation.
I think a lot of it, Grandpa, also goes back to HIV/AIDS and the response of being so angry with our government towards their lack of response. And so we were big believers in ACT UP and the motto silence equals death, because it did. It did. And I think working with that and working through those organizations and dealing with all the ramifications of HIV/AIDS at the time put us in a much better place and a more mature place.
Yeah. Yeah,
when it
and also
comes to
put us in a
dealing with
place where, like, we ain't dealing with this. You're going to accept us as we are. We aren't asking for permission. These are our rights.
Yeah. I don't need you to approve.
I don't need your acceptance.
I am who I am.
That sounds like a
I'm gonna
Broadway
break out in
musical.
the
Jerry Herman.
I know, bless his heart.
Okay, was that my question or yours? Oh, your turn next.
Yeah. Boy, that's really interesting how these questions have kind of veined. Do you have any conversations about PDA or masking as straight friends to mitigate external conflict? Have you ever felt unsafe?
Well, I think we've answered a lot of
lot
that,
about
but
the PD.
pretty much no. We really haven't felt unsafe in a lot of areas, and we don't do a lot of PDA. It's just not our thing. The funny thing is, it would go back to it, how many times people total strangers will come up to us and go, "Are you twins?"
Yeah. Brothers, twins.
No, we're not brothers. No. And you kind of think, well, what do I say to these people? And because they'll say, like, oh, you both look alike because we have mustaches, and I guess we're kind of the same build.
But I have hair.
Yeah, I used to. And I don't be rude to people, so I'll just say to them, we've just been married too long, or after 45 years, you start to look alike. And it's true. If you take a look at the pictures from when we first met, we look totally different. But I think there is something to the theory that the more you live together, the more you look alike.
Yeah, I do too.
So traveling with my brother hasn't been hard at all.
Thank you. And traveling with my twin has been absolutely so easy. I do want to go back to the issue about felt unsafe. I think I really want to focus on this because we've had so many questions about it. Just gather your research, gather your information, talk to people who've traveled to places that you're interested in, and get a sense of what can I expect as a member of the queer community. And then when you've done your research, when you've done your questioning, when you've done everything you possibly can, listen to your gut, and your gut will tell you.
Right. Okay. Do you book your own trips or do you use a travel agency?
We have always kind of DIY'd everything, but we have made contact with a really wonderful lady that we met on Virgin Voyages who has her own travel agency, and we are thinking about kind of transitioning some of our stuff to her.
Yeah. As our trips become more complicated. In the past, we have looked into, different trips in the past, but they never seemed to fulfill everything we wanted to do or for as long as we wanted to do. So it was almost like, oh, well, we cobbled them together. And the more we did that, the more we find we like that independence. We are not the type of people that want to be told to get on a bus now, get off a bus then. That's not us. Not to say that that's not right for other people, particularly solo travels or people who have not traveled before. But we found that we like an unstructured approach. It does mean a lot of research, a lot of time online, looking at videos, reading books. In fact, we're still in the process of doing that for our UK trip. So we do like the independence, but no, if you're going to do that, it does take a lot of effort to make it worthwhile.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of preview something right now. One of the reasons that we made contact with Jeanette, our travel agency, is because several subscribers and followers have asked us about, do you do meet and greets on cruises? And so we've approached Jenna about checking into how we can organize a group cruise. And we'll know more about that later. We're looking at 2025 for that. But that's something that Jenna is working on right now. And hopefully we'll have some more information about it.
Yeah. So let us know if you might be interested.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I have the last question, Grandpa.
Good.
And it just so happens this is a cute one. Please, any tips on how to have a relationship as beautiful as yours? Oh, you guys are sweet.
Yeah, you are. You really are.
Whoa, what's the magic tip then, Grandpa?
Okay. Never go to bed mad at each other. I don't care if it takes all night. Never go to bed mad.
There have been nights.
There have been nights, okay? I always kiss Bobby goodbye. I don't care if he's just going around the corner to a local store. I always kiss Bobby goodbye and tell him I love him, because you never know when that will be the last time you see the person you love.
Yeah.
Right?
The last time I saw my father was I kissed him goodnight and I never saw him again. So I have that memory. So that's a very good point.
Yeah. And whereas I never got to say goodbye to my mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that I think those two little things right there.
Just little things. But marry your best friend.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, you should have a strong physical attraction to the person you want to be with. Definitely. But you also are good if you're going to intend to spend a long time with them. And remember, Grandpa and I spend like 24/7 together.
Yeah.
Most of the time in the same room. So, we might be a little odd in that regard. We don't really like time away from one another, but it really helps to marry your best friend. Now, that doesn't mean to say you always have to have exactly the common interests. What I like to say is you have to have the common values. What are some of your bedrock values? You need to share those with the person for whom you want to have a long-term relationship. Regarding interests, well, don't be afraid to grow. Try new things. So many of the things that Grandpa and I have experienced in our life, we had never done before solo, never traveled before, never gone hiking. So be open to explore those things, and you can have a healthy relationship. Respect the person.
Yeah, it really does mean a lot of respect.
And every day, try in some way to do something for that person that's just a little something. It might be take out the trash, even if it's not your turn. Give them the little bigger piece of cake. Just a little something for them without having to be asked.
Like when one of you is spending 7.5 hours editing
I go
a
and
video,
make him
and
lunch.
Suddenly, someone brings you lunch and a cup of coffee.
Yeah, little things.
And just quietly sets it on the desk next to you. Little things like that.
Exactly. And first thing you know, you turn around and 45 years have gone by.
Yeah, so many people, it's too easy to get out of a relationship. It is way too
Well,
easy.
and we never dated during this era of online dating or instant gratification dating. So I can't imagine the temptation always be looking for the next best thing that comes in the room.
Yeah.
There's always going to be another hottie out there.
There is.
Not like you.
Thank you. Good recovery.
And not for me. But yeah, definitely a relationship is investment. I don't call it work.
No.
Because it has never been work for us. But it does take consideration, it does take respect, and it does take friendship.
And it takes the realization that the initial lust turns into something much more meaningful. You still look at each other and all that, and it's wonderful. But sometimes it's really kind of great to just look at Grandpa Bobby out on the deck, and I can see him reading a book, and he loves to read. And I can just watch him read and think how very lucky I am to have him in my life.
It's a difference between, say, physical lust and intimacy.
Yeah.
And intimacy grows, and it can be just as significant and poignant, but you have to invest in it.
Yeah, and not take a run the minute it gets tough.
Oh, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. So what'd you think of this episode, Grandpa?
I love these questions.
I know you guys have really
do.
been terrific, very insightful, and it helps us to think about not only our travels but our life.
Yeah, our relationship.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, if you have more questions, just send them in, and who knows? Eventually, maybe we'll do another one of these Q&As.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess we need to look at what we'll be doing next week.
What do you think?
I haven't got the slightest idea.
Okay, well, then tune in and be surprised, because we will be.
Where do you go after this?
I don't know.
right?
We'll have to think of something.
I think it needs to be a surprise.
Okay, well,
You
be
know.
a surprise to me.
It always is.
Well, then, you tune in next time. We appreciate your subscribing. And you know what? If you'd like to see some of our travel videos, we'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe to our travel channel, Two Gay Grandpas Travel, on YouTube. Hit that like button and definitely hit the notification bell so you can be aware of our travels. And always remember, whenever you travel your heart. Bye-bye for now.
Bye, everybody.